for TACTO, presented by Gaurav Pant as well as Kavya Singh, Ayush Raj and Srishti Mandolia.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. I'm Gaurav Pant, the founder and CEO of Project TACTO. Joining me on the stage are my co-founders, Ayush, who's also a CTO, Kavya, who leads our business, and Srishti, who designs our curriculum. You know what? I like to begin with a scenario. Imagine being a kid, curious about how technology works. But the very tools designed to teach you that assume one thing that you don't have: vision. Today, for over 90 million visually impaired children around the world, that's the exact problem. Coding, mathematics, computational thinking all rely on screens and visual interfaces. So for them, it's not just difficult, it's inaccessible by design. And when learning becomes inaccessible, opportunities become inaccessible. And that creates a wider economic gap. So, instead of trying to make screens more inclusive, we asked a different question. What if coding could be taught through touch and not by sight? And that's how TACTO was born. A system where you can build programs physically, like Braille meets Lego, where logic is no longer something that you need to imagine. It's something that you can touch and feel. Because inclusion shouldn't be an add-on. It's something that, that should be built into the foundation. But how does it actually work? Ayush will tell you.
Well, it's simple. So here's how a visually impaired person would use TACTO. He starts by picking up a block, reads the brain embedding using his fingers, and proceeds to arrange these blocks in a sequence, where each block represents a concept. It can be a loop or a number. And all of these connects to a centralized reader grid that's placed underneath the surface. It converts the spatial arrangement of blocks into a textual sequence, which gets outputted in a audio feedback, so the students can listen in live time what they are coding and debug the errors. When we combine all these systems together, it creates an ecosystem which pushes the visually impaired and other neurodivergent kids to learn new concepts, make errors, learn from it, and all by using their sense of touch.
Existing solutions, either like affordability, accessibility, or learning in depth. TACTO solves all of this. We remove dependency on screens, are built for independence from the ground up, and we eliminate complexity at the block level. This makes TACTO not only a better product, but also a category-defining one. But to be really honest, building the product, solving the problem is only half the challenge. Getting it into real classrooms, that's what creates real impact. And that's exactly what Kavya has been leading.
I'm not standing here introducing why TACTO is a better product, but the shift it's create. From screen-based learning to tactile-first learning, from assisting tools to universal learning design, and from something from very expensive and complex to very cheap and scalable. Why? Because the already existing systems want children to adapt. But through TACTO, we want the system to adapt to a child's need. Our goal is very simple: to create an independent, intuitive, and active learning classroom. And to bring this to life, our market strategy is very simple. We want to collaborate with the NGOs, school, and the government organizations that already serve visually impaired kids. Why? Because they already have the reach and the trust that we want for the targeted population. They could also provide us with the correct infrastructure that we need to scale. Partnering up with such initiatives will help us reach hundreds of students at once, effectively and sustainably. But beyond the market, beyond the scale, is the impact that it creates. So now Srishti will take you through it.
We all have heard that education is accessible and inclusive. But is that really the case? For many visually impaired students, learning still relies on listening rather than experiencing. Concepts like coding and problem solving remain abstract. Ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly where TACTO comes in. It is inspired by constructionism, which is a strong belief that learning happens the best when students build things, experiment, and see the results for themselves. TACTO is guided by universal design for learning, which ensures that every learner engages in a way that works the best for them. By taking education towards an inclusive manner, TACTO makes sure that the visually impaired students feel empowered and finally feel that this space, that education, belongs to them as well.
What happens next is not just adoption, it's transformation. A child that was learning to adapt starts learning to build. A classroom that once felt separate starts learning together. And a system that was just coping starts creating real opportunities. Because once you change how someone learns, you change what they believe they can become. And once that shift happens, it doesn't just change education. It changes who gets to be a part of the future. And that happens just because we believe in one thing, that every child can code if we design it right. Thank you and have a nice day.